And good morning, wherever you are in our beautiful, beautiful world today. I'm really excited. Are you excited? I'm really excited because I've got a very special guest with me today. A really very special guest, someone who I've been wanting to talk to for quite a while. And that is none other than Roger Burnley, who's joining us today to chat about the process of discovering your authentic self, which is a really interesting topic. So first of all, thank you so much for joining me today, Roger. It is, like I said, it is an honor to have you.
Sophia, I can't thank you enough because wherever I can talk about this, I'm so thrilled. So for you to give me the opportunity to speak on this, it's a joy for me.
Joy. Well, I said I'm really excited. I'm really, really, really excited. So let us tell us all let me tell all our listeners all about you a little bit. So you're an intuitive empowerment life purpose coach, which is also really interesting because we come across so many people, even myself, a few years ago, however long ago, it's like, well, what is my life purpose? What am
Right.
I here to be doing? Because I really believe that changes too. And you're also a sage, a mystic, and a spiritual channel. Wow. Definitely want to talk about that. So let's start, Roger. There's so much more to find out about you. But what I'd love to hear is from you. Tell us about your amazing self and your journey to how you got to where you are now.
Well, it was a struggle, and that's why I love talking about it, because the process of self-discovery is one that we are always moving through. As long as we are in physical form, as long as we're alive, there are other dimensions of ourselves that we will explore, that we will discover. But many times we don't do that because we have fear. We have fear of going into the unknown. And so then as we begin to change, which we all do, we all move through this evolutionary process. And this is why we might change jobs or change careers or change direction. Or a lot of things happen. And we're sometimes not sure why that is occurring. And I'm saying, well, it's because that's your plan. That was the plan you were given. We all have one. And when and I call it from the divine, from God, from spirit, however we think of it, but whatever words resonate, but every single person has that. And so the reason I'm so passionate about it, because I didn't think I did. I didn't know and then I resisted it when it did show up. My resistance turned into difficulties in my life, in terms of my career. It turned into the mind-body connection, my resistance, and I had illnesses because of that, so many different things. So as I started discovering this and figuring it out, realizing, oh, wait a minute, yeah, I'm a mystic. Oh, okay, I'm a sage. So I had all of this. And the way that I came to that is that in 1988, I began doing a process called automatic writing, which many people might have tried or do. And so, but I did it out of desperation. I did an interview yesterday and someone asked, well, why did you start doing that? Fear, because I was moving through so much stuff in my life that I didn't understand. And I happened to read an article speaking on this about automatic writing. So I said, let me try it. Maybe that will give me something. And after a few days, information started coming through, and it really kind of, in the beginning, frightened me because I said, where's that coming from? But we all have that. We all have intuition. We all hear things. We all, that comes in. But unless we take the time to really, this is why meditation is so important. Unless we take the time to really decipher what we might be hearing and can interpret it in some meaningful way that we can use it in our life. And we could all do that, but we don't always take that time. But for me, it was a little different because part of my makeup was living this life where I would discover all of these things so I could give this information back to others. But then again, we all live lives like that. Whatever we've experienced is the wisdom and knowledge we gain to give back to others so that we all evolve, so that our world evolves. And it's a little bit challenging in our world right now for us to come to understand that because the entire planet is changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so true. But not only is it changing, it's changing at such a fast rate.
Right.
In keeping up with that and through our own growth. And sometimes it gets very not scary, but like I said, fearful for some people, and it's
It's,
also
yeah,
scary and like just what's going on. And
exactly.
I hear you about the automatic writing. I've done that, and it is so, so powerful
Right.
to what comes through. So thank you for sharing that and things like
Uh,
that.
So, but what I did though, for
Yeah.
years, I tried to hide it because
Yes.
it didn't make sense to me. And so I'm not going to tell people. And
Yes.
even though I was receiving information that was helpful, that caused me to change so much in my life and caused me to feel much better, no matter what I had gone through. But it didn't make sense to me because my limited awareness at that time, well, first of all, I started this when it wasn't as mainstream as it might be today. It wasn't talked about as much. And I came from a background, my own family history, where this was not something you should be able to do. It wasn't something that was okay. And so my own mental processes of accepting what was happening was challenging. And when I work with my clients, I can see that coming up as well, because something will emerge from within them and they said, and not trusting it or not knowing. And that's the difficulty that we all have when we're moving, because we're all supposed to become more as we live. Everything that
Yes.
we've lived moves us to this other place. Um, but I will tell you, I'm going to talk about this time now, because this was the real challenge and why I started talking so much more and becoming coming out of my shell. Because I always said I was the reluctant mystic. I didn't want to expose it all. However, in 2020, I knew a little bit before that, but in 2020, it became really evident that our world was changing, and my guides, my spirits, what I channel, which is Wilhelm, they said you're moving through a restructuring.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant, but all the information that I was given, I started to see it manifest in the world. They said it's going to be a little chaotic. You could even have wars. You might bring in some other leaders that will shake things up, like a Hitler. And when I wrote that, I mean, that came through, and I said, I can't say that. And then we saw when the war started, and then because it was just about the energy, because everything is energy in our lives, in our universe, and we all contribute to that individually by the way that we live our lives. And are we willing to own who we are? Are we willing to bring in the light and love that's within every single person? And the only way we can do that is when we walk through our darkness as well.
It is, isn't it? And
Yeah,
sometimes we don't like the darkness, we avoid the darkness, or even like yourself, we avoid um being our true self, being our
right.
self, because we're afraid of what other people are going to say or think or something
That's the
like
big
that.
one.
But that darkness that we avoid it so much, but yet it helps us grow.
Right.
When we see it and we realize that everyone goes through these dark patches, these dark
Exactly.
things, because it's all about growth. Without the darkness, there can be no light.
Mhm.
And so, for me, I welcome this, because it's like, okay, I need to grow.
Mhm.
What's the lessons I need to learn? But for a lot of people, like even just being able to identify with who they are,
Mhm.
just really being able to step into their power of
Mhm.
being authentic,
Right.
takes a lot of courage.
Right.
So how do you help people, or what can you say for everyone who's listening, for what you've been through in your journey,
Mhm.
and you've deciding to step out and say, well, this is who I am.
Right. I had, there's no comparison here, but I had so many challenges and difficulties throughout my life.
Yes.
And so I can relate to what most people are moving through. I understand it. But what I did was, when I started the automatic writing, I took a little different route, because I didn't know why I was doing this, but I saved every single one.
Right.
When I would write them every single day, starting in 1988, I had no clue as to why I was doing that. Because most people think, oh, it's just stuff you can just toss, like it wasn't a diary, but I knew I was supposed to save them. And in 2020, as I said, when things were changing, the messages became different. Then in 2021, I was told that I was given information that would help people move through this transition. And they just can use exactly what I did because it's neuroscience. It means that we have been programmed in particular ways from, we all have different journeys that we're on, but usually it comes from our ancestors, our parents, or where we grew up or whatever. But it's always something that is limiting and restrictive. It's because we're all supposed to evolve no matter what civilization we're living in. And so each person has something that they can bring to the world that's going to be more than what they have experienced and what their families or anyone who came before had experienced as well. But we have to come to this cognitive acceptance of that. And we have the science now to understand how that works. Take identifying and limiting belief, and then implanting the new one that you want to have, that you want to use and to create your life, because we are creative. Our thoughts are energetic, electromagnetic thoughts that we have that create matter, which we're finding out now from our quantum mechanics and everything else. So, but this period in particular, it's more challenging because, as you said, it's happening so quickly. We're moving, and we've never experienced this. We have never gone through a period like this, which is why there is a lot of fear of what could happen. And the tensions that are occurring right now are relating to all of us. If are we going to have a war? Is there going to be a nuclear war? Is something going to break out? Well, it doesn't have to. If more of us start to energetically decide to move through our stuff, our darkness, and put that into the world, we can shift things. And it's a difficult concept for people to get because we think we're not that powerful. Yes, we are. Every single person is. But then collectively, we're more powerful.
Oh, totally. And I totally agree with that. It's just like, meditation. Yes, we can meditate on our own, and that's very, very powerful. But you come into a room full of other people meditating, and you can literally, or what I've experienced, you see the energy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Just, you can literally see it, feel it, and it's so powerful. And I agree, if we can come together collectively to, to elevate or raise our vibration, raise the vibration of the planet, then I really believe magic can happen.
Right. And then we have to recognize, when I started doing in 2021, I started doing live channeling sessions, and that was really kind of surprising because more information would come through during that. And it was that we're in this period. They said, listen, you're going to see people who are going to disagree with you, who are not going to understand you, who are not going to get any of that. And this is the part that you have to then understand, that you're supposed to love yourself and love them as well, but you don't have to agree. But if you're not putting in more conflict, if you're not putting in more fighting, because that we never win the fights, because we're all the same, we're all one. We keep trying to figure that one out. However, but during this period, we have to really up-level who we are and acknowledge the contrast that we're seeing and those differences, but the differences are there so that we can be awakened to own who we are and bring something else to the world.
And thank you for sharing that. Just want to say hello to everyone who is watching us. We do have a few people who are tuning in, and of course I'm here having a wonderful chat with Roger about really owning and being our authentic self and how we can bring that to the world. Right. Bring that to the world. And Roger, you just mentioned about up-leveling.
Yes.
How do you have any tips or techniques of how, the people in our community, people in the world can up-level, even if it's only in a small way, little bit?
The way that you up-level is changing your perception about everything that's gone on, everything that you've experienced in your life. Every person has an evolutionary journey that they're on, and they're given things that are helping them to evolve. Now, sometimes they feel terrible. Sometimes we have We have things we don't understand that we think have just shown up in our lives, but sometimes there are things that we have agreed to move through. We have this agreement that we made even before we were born, our souls in that sense, that we were going to have certain circumstances, situations, and things that we would move through. And if we can change our perception from, no, nothing, I'm not being punished, nothing bad is happening, I'm given something that I can move through so that I can evolve, so that I can learn something. That's why it is. Yes, sometimes it's challenging because I've been through so many horrible, challenging things. So I understand how the emotional feeling of that. However, if we can hold on to, wait a minute, this is for a reason, and that reason is always for the individual to become their best self, to move into a different place.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Like, we go through so much crap, right?
Yep, exactly.
Put it nicely, live on Facebook, all the dark
Right.
stuff, the shadow stuff, all the challenging things.
Mhm.
But yet what we don't realize is, again, it's there to make us stronger. It's there to
Right.
help us, to take us into the better version of ourselves.
Mhm.
To help us
Yes.
grow. But yet, like we're talking about, we avoid it so much.
I think when we also stop to recognize that we only experience anything in our lives through our consciousness,
Yes.
meaning the way that we think, and we have control over the way that we think, but sometimes we don't know that we have given up that control because of what we were taught, because what we've come to believe, and then we end up programming ourselves into limitation, and we and then can't move. However, knowing that as well, now we have a process to be able to change it. I was just saying something yesterday, which was so incredibly wonderful. Like, how did this happen? They were talking about cognitive behavior training, and this was in a prison. And I think how wonderful that they were bringing this work there. And it was astonishing to see the changes that these guys made when they were moving through just daily retraining their brains. That's
Yes.
all that it is.
Yes, yeah. And this is something that you help people with?
Yes, absolutely. And it came right from my own experience. How did I get through all of this stuff? Well, this is the process. When I work with them, I will have them do something every day, because you need your morning, you need your routine, whatever you call it. A lot of us call it our morning routine. That's what it was for me. But it doesn't matter, just as long as you're consistent with it. And that consistency says, okay, I'm going to take this time and work on me. I'm going to give myself this time to work on my brain, my thoughts, my emotions, because I want to be free. I want to move to that next level that I can reach, because we all have that potential to continue to go. Someone said yesterday in the interview, what, do you stop being afraid? I go, no. Do you stop having doubt? No. Because there's always some more. There's always another level that every person can move to. We only limit ourselves. That's all.
Yes.
So
yeah, and I definitely agree with you with that. There's always more levels. If there wasn't, we wouldn't be here.
right, exactly.
You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
when there is no more levels, then it is time. We go on
Right.
to whatever's next. But right now, there is definitely more growth, more things, and like I said, more doubts and more fears to overcome about wherever we're growing.
Right.
Wherever
Right.
we're going. I was talking to one of our tribe hosts yesterday also. She's going through so much stuff, and it's like all the resistance is coming up,
That's
all the resistance. And isn't that, like, we resist changing so much because we're used to our comfort zone,
Yep.
even if it's not good.
Yeah. Something someone said something yesterday. I saw this great quote, and I should remember this. Said, nothing great has ever been created from a comfort zone.
I know. So very, very true. It's when we get out of those comfort zones.
Right.
And things. And that's all really also really about being our authentic self.
And that's the craziest thing ever. Why can't we do that?
I know.
And so those are all the things we have to look at it, and we can see it very clearly. Like you said in the very beginning, we will like compare ourselves, to someone else, and that's the worst thing to do. We can look at people, we can look at others for inspiration, for motivation, for direction, or for teaching, or whatever. But the fact is, we are supposed to be these unique individuals, so nobody's going to fit exactly our mold. Our mold was what was needed in the world, and I like to get my clients to understand that you would not be on the earth unless you were needed. Unless your essence and your life experience was needed in some way to help everything evolve.
Mhm, mm. Absolutely, and I agree. Totally. If we weren't needed, we wouldn't be here. Totally agree.
Mm.
Agree with Roger. And just another question, because you're talking about morning routines and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Tell us, what does your morning routine look like?
Which I became addicted to it. And I love using it for that because this is the best kind of addiction. When I started doing the messages back in '88, and I saw that I was really receiving these results. And then what I discovered was, after I would do the meditation and after I would write something, and which I pretty much did every day, I would feel better. And so my day would be completely different, no matter what I had gone through, because a lot of times I was going through a lot of crap. I was going through a lot of mess, and the day and the night might have been terrible. However, I always knew that when I got up in the morning, took my time, meditated, and just listened for the information to come through, that I would receive it and I would feel better, and then I could get on with my day. And I didn't understand it at the time, but now I know that I was using cognitive behavior training by doing it daily, because it's the consistency that makes the big difference. We don't get to where we want to go in our lives because we either give up, we get distracted, we don't stay on point with that. So that's why that routine is so important. I think that one of the people who talked about it, I think the most a long time ago, was Tony Robbins. I think he did a whole big thing about his morning routine, and then everybody started doing, because we all know that makes the greatest difference in our lives.
Absolutely, I agree. Yes, I think Tony Robbins calls it his power hour
Yeah.
every morning. But the meditation,
Right.
every morning, the consistency. Like I agree, it lays the foundation. Totally, absolutely, it lays the foundation. So thank you. And is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners about about stepping into their authentic self, overcoming all the crap, the darkness, the stuff like that, and really being the best person that they're meant to be, that we're born to be, the reason that we're here?
I think maybe probably the first thing is to understand that they're doing the same thing that everyone else is. And that's because we think that somehow maybe we're going through more, we're doing something different. No, we're all moving through the same thing, which is growing, which is evolving, and our paths will be different. The experiences that we have will happen at different times in our lives, maybe than what they happen for someone else. But when we start comparing ourselves, like, oh, I should have been here by now, or I should have done, no. And I'm saying that because right now, so many people are finding themselves waking up to something that they don't understand, because there's a collective shift going on, a galactic shift that's happening. And so everyone is affected because it's all energetic. And so when we understand that it's just energy and we are being asked to become more, then whatever we're given is serving that purpose when we decide to work with it. That's how I like to think, work with whatever is given to us, whatever's in front of us.
Absolutely, and I agree. And this galactic shift. We can have another conversation about that. Really love for you to come back.
Right. Yeah.
Have a conversation about that, because it is happening. It is getting
Yes.
bigger or quicker or whatever in the world. I thought the recent pandemic was a lesson for us to slow down. I don't think we kind of got that lesson, because life has got even so much more quicker.
Right.
And stuff. And there's that whole shift that we're coming into. So please do come back and let's talk about galactic ships.
I would definitely love that. Yes.
Love to. And in the meantime, Roger, just before we do wrap up, because we are about to wrap up, just tell us if you could give your, if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self just a piece of advice, or for all the listeners out there, just one piece of advice, what would that be?
Every experience that you have is helping you become the person you're supposed to be. That's really it, because it's a constant journey and everything we move through is for us. We just have to interpret it, figure it out, and get to that next level where we feel great. And we're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to enjoy our lives. And moving through that stuff gets us to that place where we will enjoy who we are. And then we're making a greater contribution to the world as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so true. Everything that we're going through is making us the person that we're meant to be. Love it.
Right.
Thank you. Now, for all our listeners who are watching live and the replay, we will be putting your links in the comments as soon as possible. But tell us, is there any way that they can get in touch with you? Or do you have anything that you'd like to offer?
Well, they can, yes. If they go to either my link tree, which is under the Burnley method, and they could schedule a consultation with me if they want to know more, but they can also find all of my information there. And they could go to my website, which is rogerburnley.com. I'm actually doing a channeling session also on this full moon on Tuesday morning, so they might find that as well, where they could register for that.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So people can register for your
Exactly.
Okay, I will have to do that, absolutely, and we will be putting those links in. And Roger, the last question, I think the last question is there any other question that I could have asked, and how would have you answered that one?
I don't know. No, I think that was the main. I think you did wonderfully. You got the main points out, because my whole thing was to encourage everyone that no matter what you see happening in the world, you are here to make a difference. That would be the best thing. You are here to make a difference.
Yeah, in whatever way that
in whatever way, yes.
And I know,
absolutely.
Roger, you're making a huge difference, and I'd just like to take a moment just to honor you, to really, really honor you for stepping into your power, for making that choice, that decision to be your authentic self, to share your gifts, your talents, your channeling and everything else with the world, because you are making a difference.
Thank you.
And it is very, very inspirational. So I am honored to be able to chat with you today. I said I'd love for you to come back to talk about galactic ships and
yes, absolutely.
And for everyone out there who is watching, whether it's live or on the replay, we will be putting Roger's links in very, very, very soon. But until then, Roger, thank you.
Thank you.
Seriously, thank you. And I said I'm honored to be able to chat with you today.